Well, thank you for letting me be here tonight. I'm honored the elders asked me to be here, taking Tri's place. Actually, David's place, but anyway, good to have everybody here this evening. A good crowd tonight, looks like. And I was amazed, and just like over at Union Hill, the sick list is, I have never been around churches in my whole life that this past year or more, the sick list is so long and people are having so much trouble. And we have a list that's longer than yours. It's incredible. And so I'm sorry for that. We're in a difficult time. People need our prayers. I know that a lot, but whatever it is, we have to do the best we can. I'm glad you're here tonight. We're going to talk about honor, talk about authority tonight. And we're going to, before I talk about that, though, and read some verses, I want to mention the 21st of this month. There's a big event coming, the 21st. It's not my birthday, though. It's just the 21st. We're having Union Hill come over here for watching the movies and pictures of Bible Live. And that's great. And I watched all of them so far. I'm putting them together, so I'm watching all the videos, and they're great. You guys, Hardin had, have 40, 50 people working and all that. And it just, you just can't miss that. That's all I'll say. You can't miss it. It's great. It's like going to the movies downtown to see all this. And pictures with it all. You'll all be on that. All that's been great. So we'll be doing that. But I'm not thrilled about that as much as what after you watch that, we're going to have homemade ice cream. That's what I'm after. So I'll be here for the movies and videos, but I want to be part of the homemade ice cream. Does everybody make, some people make homemade ice cream here? Do you make that some? We'll have some. I don't know how many will come over that way, but we'll hopefully have some. But that's going to be great and good night for everybody. So it's the 21st of this month, about 3 weeks away, I think, 2 weeks away, whatever it is. We're talking about tonight the 10 Commandments. But don't faint. We're just going to take one of them, one commandment. And that's the fifth commandment. Now, can you name the fifth commandment? That's our lesson for tonight. Talking about the key word. You know the key word is honor. So what's the fifth commandment? Honor. Honor your father and mother. This is a commandment, the only commandment in all the Bible. There's a promise with it that you have a long life that God gives you on this earth. The 20th chapter of Exodus and verse 12. So that's our lesson tonight, honoring father and mother. And we're going to talk about really to you, and I don't know how many here, we got people that are older like me in here, and some of the younger, so maybe somebody fit somewhere. We're talking about values. We're going to talk about values. What are the values for families? What are the important things for your family in your lives? And these values we have and what we think is important to our kids, our families, we teach that to people. We teach the Bible to our children. We have Bible classes for that. But also, your values are given on to your family by a term called rhythm. Now, I just learned this recently studying psychology and studying some family counseling matters. They use a term called rhythm. And all that means, don't get excited about the word you don't know what it means. I don't know what it meant either, but it just means how you go about doing things in your family. Every family has a different way they do things, right? You understand what I'm talking about? So they call it, the big shots, educated people call it your rhythm, family rhythm. So I'll use that term a little bit, and we'll talk about what it means. But I want you to think about your family, the way you do things, your family rhythm, we call it. What is included in that? And what is excluded? What don't you do? Both those things, every family is different. Every family, like a fingerprint, is different. How do you handle conflict in your home? When you have fights and arguments, how do you handle that in your home? Families are different how they do that. And how do you parent your children? Or how did you parent your children? But now, how do you parent your children or even grandchildren? How do you handle things that come up? So I'm talking about what does your rhythm look like? And used to talk about this and talk about you bring baggage into your life from your young days. Well, they just have a term for it called rhythm. So you probably don't think about that at all very much, but if you don't think you have a family way you do things, a rhythm, let your TV go out sometime and see how you act in the family. Better than that, let your internet go out and see what happens to your family. You know what I'm talking about? There's ways you handle that and ways you don't handle that. Rhythm has an impact on your life. It has an impact on the way you raise your family, upon people around you, how you live your life. And so rhythm is silent, but it's very significant how it plays in our lives. So it's really super important of how you shape children. So I'm talking to a lot of young people tonight, and they're not a lot here, of course, Sunday nights, so there might be a bigger crowd Sunday morning, but rhythm shapes your whole family. Think about this, and I think about it in my life. How did you grow up in your family? What would you do in your family if you're an older person? You think about your things like what did your dad do? Did he like to play golf, or did he like to hunt or fish? What was it like in your family, moving around all the time? What happened to him, or just whatever? But how did you spend time in your family? Leisure time, people together. What happened to you, and how do you deal with that? And what was important to your parents? You see, how you're raised is going to influence the way you live your life as an older adult. And so you think about your parents and your home you were raised in, and I think about what was important to my parents when I grew up. And my dad, first of all, I can picture him two ways. Now, real quick on this. One is he worked. He worked. That's his name, I guess, worked. And we called him Dad. But he worked at the Whirlpool Corporation in Evansville, Indiana, where I grew up. And he had a job. He was an auto body man. He was a mechanic. He did that on the side. He trimmed trees on the side. He worked all the time, day and night, nearly. And Saturdays come, where was Dad? Working. Vacation. He'd spend not all, but some vacations he worked. That's how I think about my dad. A real strong foundation of he liked to work. And then another picture I have of my father, how I grew up in my home, I can picture him right now, visually, see my dad on the end of the couch at nighttime, some nights, not every night, but some nights, he'd be, have a Bible in his lap, had a Sunday school workbook on the table with a lamp on it. He'd be reading his Bible, trying to fill out the blanks of that Bible lesson. And he did that quite often. And I see him. Became a Christian later in life, but ended up being an elder at Washington Avenue Church at some time. But that's how I was kind of influenced by that, by what he did. That molded me. And it could be a number of things that made your rhythm work in your family, how you were raised, that something that formed you. You're the way you are. You think you're your own person? No, you're the way you are because how you were raised. Would you agree to that? We have a lot to do with what you learned, what you saw, the actions of your family. That's how you are now. Today, that influenced you a lot. Now, that's our rhythm. That's our idea. And you can break out of that. There are people who had not a real good family. You can break out of that and have a better family. Or it can reverse. You can have a good family, and sometimes you can have didn't turn out very good. You can change. Either way, you can change it. Let's say you're growing up in a home, and for example, you have parents that they like sports. They love sports. They talk about sports a lot. They know the teams of different sports teams. They know what their records are. They know the stats. They know the players. They know when they're going to play. They know all about sports. But they never go outside and they never play sports. They don't even own a pair of running shoes. And so they do all this talk about sports, but they never do anything about it. You know what I'm talking about? Now, you can replace that by anything you want to, any topic you want to replace with anything. But what I'm trying to say is, you know this already without me telling you, but actions speak louder than words, don't you? How you act in your family. Your actions are going to speak a lot louder than what you say. And that's a given to all. So that's those actions that you have around your family, that makes your home have that rhythm, different than anybody else. Mine's not like yours. Yours is not like mine. They're all different, like a fingerprint in life. And now there happens to be, and you know this probably, many voices in our nation who are trying to destroy families, trying to destroy authority and honor. I have a little printout here I made of a book by a man named Daniel Bowl. He wrote a book called Hanging by a Thread. Talk about America and the conspiracy to destroy families and churches and Christianity, and how that for years and years and years, over 60 years now, behind the scenes, high up people trying to push an agenda to destroy us. And here's 7 points he makes, as Daniel did. He wrote about 10 years ago, this book was written, Hanging by a Thread. And he says, first of all, personal happiness, fulfillment, and independence are the highest goals of any person. Now, you think about that a minute, you say, well, that sounds pretty good. No, it's not good. Personal happiness is not the highest good of individuals. Not at all, but that's what they want people to believe. I want everything my way. It's got to be my way or I'll rebel against it, and so forth, so forth. And the idea of marrying someone in life is old-fashioned. Marriage is old-fashioned. Divorce is not harmful, but should be encouraged if couples are not compatible. We should not worry about how divorce affects children. They are remarkably able to take care of that in their lives. 3, traditional roles are confining and outdated. 4, parents should be encouraged to begin letting their children go while they're teenagers and let them start making decisions and run their own life as a young person. And I'll talk about that. I ain't got time to talk about these, but that's a bad thing. 5, there's no such thing as absolute morality. We encourage each individual to experience sexual freedom by setting aside biblical morals regarding premarital sex, extramarital sex, and homosexuality. We must embrace tolerance for these lifestyles as individual choices. And 6, we should question all forms of authority. They hate authority. Question all forms of authority. Number 7, he says, the influence of Christianity should be eliminated from public life and public discourse. So that's how this world is thinking. And I'll tell you one thing right now, folks, they're winning. Their plan has been going on for a long time to destroy everything we know, and they're winning. And so it's become evident about that. So here's the point I'm trying to say tonight to you in this particular lesson. That is, our families are all different, and you have a way to do things different than my ways, or the rhythm. Everybody's different. But our rhythm, how you do things, set your values. It establishes in your home that foundation of values for the future, for your children and others around you. And number 3, there are opposing voices. We have enemies in this nation. They're opposing voices trying to tear down all these values and all these things that influence us for good. They want to destroy it. And you know about that more than I do probably. So it's not unusual. Let's get back to the verses. It's not unusual in the 10 Commandments when it comes to our relationships with others. God starts, this is important, God starts with the family. The first 4 commandments are about God, our relationship to God. I had no other names before me. Don't take my name in vain. And all. The first 4 commandments are our relationship with God. The 5th one, he stops. He says, now I'm going to begin telling people how to live with each other. And the first one he starts with is the foundation of all of society, all of life, is how the family operates. How families, what they do, how they're taught, and what their actions. So he says the 5th commandment is simply honor your father and mother. And that's foundational. Then there's more about relationships. But here he starts with the family. And I asked the question, I'm not going to question God, but I'm just kind of thinking about why does God start with the child-parent relationships in the 10 Commandments, the basis of all things? Why start there? It's almost like God saying this. It's almost like he's saying, if you can't get along in your home, you're not going to get along anywhere else in this life with nobody. So all the foundation is how you raise and your values and your rhythm in the family. And that's part of it. It's deeper than that, though. It goes deeper. You know this, I think. Dysfunctional families produce dysfunctional people, right? If you got troubles and people don't act right in the home, that's going to produce more people with troubles, and they don't act right in the home, and society is blown apart. That's what's happened in the world. So here's a word we use in honoring your parents and mothers, the word authority. Authority. Wow, don't say authority in this world today. You shy away from it, and that's a bad word, authority. Don't even talk about that at all. But parents are told to last many years now, for 30, 40 years, they're ever being told, don't ever say no to your children. You know, don't say no to children. Not understanding that there is a God-given authority in Scripture. As parents, God gives it to us. Whether we like it or not, we're given that authority. We're given that to be honoring our children. And be honest, you know this, and I know it, raising 3 children, it's a challenge to raise children. Definitely a great challenge to raise children. It was years ago. It's more so today. I don't have time tonight to talk about this, but there are a whole host of issues that when I was young, I never heard about. I didn't know what they're talking about when I was growing up. But today, you know, there's just hundreds of things that we never thought would be possible in our world. And one of the biggest voices today is rebelling against authority. That's the number one thing people that want to destroy America want to stop. Don't believe in and don't have authority. But whether you like it or not, God says honor authority set up in the home. Honor that authority. And so our parents have this great responsibility. And I've studied this a lot, and I don't have time tonight, but there's 8 giant verses in the Bible, Old Testament mainly, that talk about how children who honor their parents are blessed in this life. And it's a great sermon, just those 8 points. They're super great, but I don't have time to do it tonight. But the thing is, honoring father and mother teaches us respect for authority. Honor, have you heard, honor originally was a word that came back out of the 1,000 years ago. Honor meant heavy weight. They used the word honor to mean heavy weight. And it was talking about the idea that when you honor something, then you have a lot of real solid weight. If you dishonor somebody, you treat them insignificant, nothing at all, no weight. That's how the word started out. So over time, that's being eroded in our society today. You know that. And this whole idea of authority and honoring your parents, my first words out of my mouth of talking to anybody about this is, parents, don't get into the mode of my kids need to have it better than me. My kids need to be happier than I am. My kids need to have a better life than I have. That might sound like a good idea, but that's not such a good idea really at all. Remember this. Homes are the training grounds. It's a training ground where we teach our kids how to function in society. So we want our children, and though we're around those people in churches, that is a training ground to teach people how they're supposed to live in this world we live in. And so you see it over and over again. Disrespectful children in their homes are going to be disrespectful adults one day. And they're going to cause riots, they're going to cause mayhem, they're going to cause all kind of issues in this nation. And you see it happening in our very, very eyes. And people need to hear this. It's truth. And this honoring idea, honoring your parents and father, is very important. And when it comes to authority, teach the children about honoring their father and mother. Honor, giving heavy weight to something. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to honor it. You have to do what it says do. And that's part of our lives. And a child allowed to disrespect their parents. Listen to this. A child allowed to show disrespect to their parents will not respect anyone else or anything else. They're going to have a hard time as adults. If they have no regard for authority, it means they won't follow the law of the land. That means they will struggle to hold a job. That means they will have constant conflict with others in their life they meet. And most of all, they'll not honor God and obey God and respect God's word and God himself. So God knew what he was saying. The fifth commandment, the first of human relationships, he knew to put down honor, father and mother. That is the bedrock. It all starts in the home, those values we have. And there's just no exceptions given to that at all. Now, you talk about authority. One authority starts in the home for everything. And one thing that Paul says in Romans chapter 13, verse 1, you know this verse, I believe, that every person ought to be subject to the governing authorities. You have to study that more. Romans 13, verse 1 starts that way. Every person ought to be subject to the governing authorities. That means our politicians. That means people over us in authority. And when you're talking about respecting, that means honor them. Not so much as positions, but for who they are, right? Now, I can tell you right now, I respect authority. I respect our government. But do I always agree with them? No, I don't agree with them all the time. But I do respect our government and I respect our country of America. And that's what he's talking. This all comes out here. And we're talking about children honoring their parents, but there's also other ways. You struggle when you read Hebrews chapter 13:1 to honor the government. We kind of struggle with that a little bit. Paul lived in a Roman government over him that killed Christians, but he still wrote this verse: honor, respect the government. Now, I'm not called to overthrow the government. God doesn't say that. God didn't call me to protest. God called you and me to be those who love him and love others. That's what we're called to do in this life we live in. And so I'm called to honor authority. And that's what that verse 12 is talking about in this Exodus 20, whether we like it or not. And to be clear, again, I say I don't like it. A lot of things I do not like. But honor, what's the point tonight? Honor. Honoring authority, honoring someone starts in the home. It starts in the home. And when it comes to children and parents, you give weight. The honor means give weight to something. You give weight to your parents. You heed their advice. You love their very presence. So you give weight. You honor what that word means. You know, Mark Twain said something regarding parents and children. He said, when I was 14, my father was so ignorant, I couldn't hardly stand to be around him. And when I turned 21, I was astonished that the old man knew so much. And that's true, isn't it? Well, this all fits in to the fifth commandment, the commandment with a promise in the Bible. And the promise is inherent in the command. The children respect their parents, have a long life as promised from this verse of God. So, how do we honor God? Well, you know, we can talk about that a lot about tonight, trust in him. How do you honor parents? Trust, same way. Trust them, submit to discipline. But let me close out with this word to parents. First of all, we honor our father and mother by submitting to discipline. Discipline is not a bad thing. Now, a lot of people today in this culture hear the word discipline, they freak out. They go berserk. Discipline, as you should know, is not always physical. It's not always a spanking. It may be, but it may not be that either. It might not be a whipping. It might not be that. But be what it may, a lack of discipline is a problem of our nation. A lack of discipline is a problem in the church. That lack of discipline. And our kids need to be told and shown. They need to learn, and they need to, they don't have to have everything they want in life. You don't get everything you want in life. When I raised our children years ago, back in that day, the Rolling Stones, that's an old name. Have you ever heard of the Rolling Stones? It's an old group. They had a song, and I don't remember the words, but what part of the words of the song was, you can't get all you want. I remember that part. That's all I remember. You can't, because I use that to my kids all the time. They'd beg for ice cream. They'd beg for a toy. They'd beg, and I'd sing this song, not very good, but I'd sing, yeah, you can't get all you want. Now, whether how the song goes, I don't know how it went, but they just hated that. They hated me to do that to them because we taught them you don't get all you want in life. There's things you don't get. So discipline, when we're talking discipline, our kids need that, and they want that, by the way. Children want discipline. You know, they want to know that we have a structure to live under. We have rules to go by. And my dad and mom, they're looking out the best for me. They didn't understand that. And you give your kids everything, we're lacking in discipline, and we are not looking out for the best interests. I'll guarantee you that. You know, I was born in Arkansas, Hope, Arkansas, and raised a few years there and moved up north. But they had a saying in Arkansas that went like this. And I was taught this, and I believe it, and I still believe it. You take a pig, a little pig, and a little boy, and you feed that pig and give that little pig everything it wants, and you give that little boy, feed him and give him everything he wants, you will have a great pig and a poor boy. And that's the truth, folks. Don't give your kids everything they want. That's the point I'm trying to make real quickly here. They want and they need discipline, not necessarily punishment, not at all. In fact, here is a definition of discipline that you need to get in your minds. This is what discipline is. Discipline is the intentional act of shaping and molding a child into life behaviors. And there's all kind of ways to discipline. But discipline is defined as an intentional act of shaping and molding a child into life behaviors. And that's what you want on your children, don't you? We all want that. So I never understood, when I grew up as a child, of course, and maybe kids here wouldn't understand it either, but when I grew up as my child, Dad would give me discipline, and back in those days, they did more whipping than today. Today, the whipping's not as popular probably, but back then they really whipped. I mean, bad. And so Dad would tell me every time, no, I don't mean every time. Dad would say to me, now, Don, this is going to hurt you. I mean, it's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. You heard that before? Anybody ever say that? Don't say that to your kids. You know, I was going to say, yeah, Dad, let's just skip this then. No, I didn't say that at all. I'd get killed if I said that. But he would say, he really said that. And everybody said that probably in life. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Right, let's change places. But it didn't work very well that way. You know about that. So parents, here's the point, tonight's lesson. Parents, it doesn't say in the Ten Commandments words like this, but we are to honor our children. And I get this out of Ephesians 6, verse 1. We're talking fathers, don't provoke your children to anger or wrath. You know, so that kind of puts in all this lesson pretty well. Here's a challenge you have. All of us have. Those who have children, some of you already had yours raised, but here's a challenge we all have in life. You place your kids, you place your teens especially, in the highest respected position. Honor is giving weight to someone, right? Put them up high position. And others around you, same thing, people you know in the church, and out where you work, wherever. Put them in a high position. You know, next time your teen or a child, let's just say, next time your teen comes into the room, do this. Take a deep breath. Ah, God has blessed me to have a kid like you in my household. I'm so blessed. You know, say that to the kids. Or look, he's already got a hold of that already. And or wow, I can't believe God entrusted your life to me. You know what they'll say? Dad, you're weird. I heard that before. Dad, you're weird. But you know what they'll remember? They will hear what you say. They will remember what you say. And they will appreciate what you say. So, most of all, you honor your children by your actions. Not what you say so much, what you do. That's a big one. You honor children by the way you act towards them. And so that means how you treat other people. How do you treat other people? How do you treat people in the stores or anywhere how do you treat people? How do you treat authority? Do you teach them respect authority? How do you talk about authority in your home? Do you show honor and love to people around you? As parents, do you build each other up in front of your children? It doesn't hurt, guys, to say to your kids, hey, kids, and say it in front of your wife, kids, listen, you got the most wonderful mother in the world. Can you say that? Can you say that sometimes to kids, in front of kids? But our parents' goals, the parents' goal should be to show honor to others, but be honorable parents, be honorable people. You know, it's hard to be a parent. Many of you already know that. You've raised your children. Others are in the midst of the fray right now. It's hard and a struggle to be a parent. We raised 3 children, and it wasn't easy. And you asked me a question, did you do it right all the time? No, we didn't do it right all the time. Maybe sometimes. But the goal as parents should not be perfect parents. That'll never happen. There's no perfect parents. You know, God created 2 children, 2 people, didn't he? In the Garden of Eden. What happened to those 2 children? Just think about that. There are no perfect parents, but we can have honorable parents. Our goal is to honor, respect our children, those around us, our mates, honorable, love them, be patient with children. And I know parents get tired and get stressed out. Boy, do I know how you can get really bent out of shape with having kids, right? Is there any amens in the audience at all? Or a woman, maybe if you're a woman, you can a woman. But we get really stressed out as a parent. I know about that. And God says, don't provoke your children to wrath. You honor them. Don't provoke them to anger. Love them, honor them. Be patient with children. And, how many been through the idea of kids in your household, their favorite words, the little ones especially? What's the favorite word? You know what it is. Asking a question. What is it? Why? 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 They aggravate. There's one agreeing with me. I got one agreement. But yeah, that would just, if it goes over and over again, that's something to challenge you as a parent. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's tough. Don't provoke your children to wrath. This is a God-given truth for families. Remember, the foundational point of 10 Commandments of relationships is the fifth commandment: honor father and mother. Mutual honoring. That's God's desire for everybody. It works in the family, it works out in society, it works with your friends, it works in the church. Honor folks in the church. Parents, we only have our children for a season. And those who are older in here know what I'm talking about. It's just gone. Real quick, they're gone. You have them for a little while. And so I plead with you to covenant with God, to give them the memories of honoring father and mother in your home. And I know you desire to raise your children and your grandchildren God's way. You desire that, I know that. And to have a family of honor and have children who are honored and blessed by God. And I ask you tonight as we close this message, is your life honoring God? I hope it is. I think everybody in here, probably your life now is honoring God Almighty. And that you've heard the call of God. You obeyed the gospel of Christ. You're a Christian. If anyone else in here needs to respond to God, you honor God by obeying him and listening to him. Tonight we have an invitation song. Anyone needs to come to Christ or needs a prayer of the church or some help in your life, please come. If we stand